Oh,
There
I thought
he
I thought we had a
is.
7-second delay for a second. What's going on?
I was just hitting the record button.
Oh, yeah, it's quite the pregnant pause.
Quite the what pause?
A pregnant pause.
Pregnant.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Is that a glam rock term?
I don't know. That'd be actually a good band name, don't you think? Pregnant Pause. Dude, are you gonna Pregnant Pause? And you
That
spell
could be
it
an album. That's like an album name. So like this rip-roaring band of groupie fucking maniac glam rockers had to have a pregnant pause as one of the guys knocked up a girl in Iowa and he had to go back and take care of it.
No, and get this, you would spell it Paws. Like dog.
Like faux pas, kind of.
No, like paws, like little animal paws. Pregnant
Oh, that's
paws.
dumb. Let me guess, you
Or
like cats.
PAS. What's
Fuck
that?
your cat. Fuck your cat.
I don't have a cat.
Exactly. He fucked it.
It's not. You can't prove that.
What? You want me to
Can't
edit
prove
that?
it. Yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah, edit that out, man. I don't want people knowing the truth.
Well, what news do you have for me? Have you listened to some stuff I sent you yet? We're going on 2 years of this now of you going, no, I've been busy.
Has it been 2 years? Man.
I don't know. It's been probably a good year and a half, I think, since we started doing this.
Man,
probably
wasted
about
my life.
like 499 days of that has been me trying to coax you to either do it one night or another or listen to the music I sent you and you going, oh, Winger, dude. Winger, bro. Winger.
Yeah, there was a new Winger album, so
oh yeah.
Priorities, man. No, I mean I've been listening to stuff. I haven't listened to any of the drop. It's just because it's like I don't know. I don't check my Dropbox. You know, like I don't get alerts for it.
But I always tell you to check it and you don't, or you get the shit and you don't listen to it. So here I am busting your balls on it on Medley Challenge with Marc, I don't check my Dropbox, Hansen, and J.R. Torina, the Master Butcher.
Yeah.
Broadcasting to you from Salt Lake City, Utah. And where the fuck are you now? You still in Wyoming or did you leave?
I'm still in Wyoming. Working
my balls off, saying? Dude. Yeah?
Yeah.
Working your balls off, huh?
Yeah, so like yesterday was supposed to be my day off, but I covered for somebody's shift. And today I had to come in for like 2.5 hours for a meeting. And then tomorrow I'm working my normal shift. And then on Friday and Saturday I'm working back to back 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. shifts. Then Sunday 5 a.m. to or 6 a.m. to 2. And then my next day off is Monday. Unless someone asks me to work. I'm just trying to get as many hours as I can. I just don't want to burn out. But so far, so good. Like I don't feel like burned out. I'm tired for sure. But it's not, that, how there's tired and then there's like burned out, like husk of the person you once were. I'm not at that point yet, so knock on wood. So I'm just gonna try to get as many hours, so like I'm already like shit.
What?
5 days into my pay period, I'm already at like 65 hours or something like that. So you know what it's like, dude. You probably put that kind of work in at the restaurant because no one else, when no one else is going to do it, right? You're the one who's got to do it.
I usually do 45 to 48 or 50 hours a week. I mean, I have to do that as
yeah,
the manager there, and
Mhm.
all of that. But I'm working tomorrow because Thanksgiving, as usual, the holidays fuck up everything. So
Mhm.
I'm working tomorrow, which I'd normally be off, but then I got to work pretty much all night loading turkeys into the smokers and all this other stuff because we do Thanksgiving turkeys.
Mhm.
And then I'm off on Friday instead, which I'm usually there, but it's Black Friday, so it's not going to be busy, but then it's going to be shitty everywhere else because everybody's going to be out on Black Friday probably. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
I'll be safe at work.
That's the thing is driving is fucking insane. Like the other day I got takeout. In fact, it was the day we were going to do this originally, like last week, remember?
Huh? Oh yeah.
Like I was at my favorite restaurant, Mazza, up on the east side. The last one that's left is on like the east side above Sugar House.
Mhm.
So I go up there. I'm like, God, they take an hour to make your food. They have this lead time. I'm like, come on. And then I get there and it's not ready yet. I'm like, fuck, come on. And like within like an hour of having to come back home and meet you to do this last week, which we ended up
Like
not doing it, right? So
yeah, we both like both
yeah, it turned out
are
to be a shit night. Well, on the way home, I'm on the freeway. It's like heading west, which shouldn't be that bad, heading west at rush hour.
mhm.
And I have to slam on my brakes because this guy in front of me slammed on his brakes, and we're not even barely moving. You know that one where you're barely moving on the freeway, and then all of a sudden you start to go, and you immediately slam on your brakes as you almost hit
Oh
the
yeah.
car.
Yeah.
I did that. My takeout from Mazda goes upside down, head over heels twice into the floor of the back seat. I'm like, fuck. And I have like, this is like Mediterranean, Middle Eastern food. So it's
Oh
like
yeah. So
hummus
it's
and all this stuff and like tabbouleh salad, hummus, rice. It's like all over,
oh
not on the floor of the car. It's inside the boxes. So I'm like, okay, well, fuck. And like, and
yeah,
then he does
it's all
that.
discombobulated and
Yeah,
everything in the
yeah. And then the
boxes.
car in
Yeah.
front of me did that like three more times. I kept slamming my brakes on. My shit kept falling. I like even pulled over to pick it up off the floor on the freeway. And I
Mm-mm.
was just pissed off as fuck by the time I got home. I ate it and it was good, but it was just all like someone put it
Yeah.
through a blender. I was like, that's fucking horseshit.
Well, I mean, I was about to
And it
say your
just
car
reminded
must
me
have
why I'm
smelled
glad.
delicious.
I'm
Yeah.
just glad that I don't drive in the daytime, in the evening time with all the other people. Or like today. Like I'm going over to my mom's to have dinner, as I always do, and then she's embraces me with the news that she'd already made dinner and is ready. Where the fuck are you? I'm like, well, you didn't tell me you already made dinner. I'm coming at my usual time. You're an hour early. You didn't say anything. So I'm heading over there on 7th East, heading south to Sandy. Same thing, like gridlock traffic. Like the grocery store is busy. I have to go to the store and stop and get her some eggs. Then I go on the down 7th East. It's like stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. Keep slamming your brakes on. I'm like, fuck. Then there's no parking when I get there.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just annoying.
Yeah.
And then I
But
have to help
we
my
got a
mom all
lot to be
night.
thankful for. What's that?
Is your mom internet savvy? And does she know how to work a cell phone?
Oh yeah, yeah.
She does. She can like text and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. She texts all the time.
See, my mom can text, but then when it really comes down to it, she can't figure it out. And like I got her an old iPhone. I gave her my old iPhone. It's just like her iPad, which she knows how to use. She still can't fucking figure it out. Like she'll send me like weird text, like a letter or something, and other times she'll send me a perfectly fine text, and other times she'll act like she can't do it. I think
Uh,
part of it's because she doesn't want to do it, and she wants people to come over and like cradle her and do it and take care of it for her. But at the
I,
same time,
I
that's
swear
funny
you and
because
my mom are very similar. I mean, my mom's like not that bad, but I'm always like she has an iPhone too as well, and I don't have an iPhone, but I kind of know my way around it, so it's
well, it's not that hard to figure
like
out.
I
And
don't
she
get,
just
I can't get internet, so it's like, okay, we got to check your settings, did it, and I'm always, telling her to just turn it off and back on, restart it. That's the first thing you try, you know.
my mom doesn't even know how to do that. You can't do that.
Mm.
I've done it once over the phone. I'm like, okay, that big button on top of your iPad, yeah, hold it down. Now the screen go up. Yeah, what happened? The screen went up. I'm like, hold
Yeah,
on, keep holding the
good.
button down, push it
It's
down
work.
again.
It means it's working.
And then tonight, she's trying to type something in Facebook to my sister-in-law in Georgia, and she just can't figure it out and keeps fucking it up. I'm like, God damn it! I'm like, why is this so hard? Type it in and hit enter. What is your problem? Like, you know how to do this shit. and I'm waiting to leave to come home. I'm like waiting for her to finish fucking around typing this because I know it's going to go wrong. So I'm waiting before I go out the door. I got my coat on, my backpack. I'm holding my bag of groceries. She can't figure it out. And then I do it for her. She does it. Then I'm like, okay. So I start going out the door. Hey, what's this? I'm like, fuck. I have to come back inside, put everything down, take everything off, go over there. I'm like, all right, what? And I have this one. I'm like, well, you hit enter on that one before. See, you did it. It's fine. It says condolences, sorry for your loss. It's perfectly fine. Just leave that.
Yeah.
But she wanted to find one and put emojis on it. I'm like, since when do you use emojis? You don't even know how to use your fucking phone. Now you're using emojis. Okay. So I had to show her how to delete one. I'm like, okay, see those little dots in the top corner? That's how you pick it. That's a menu. See there? Delete. Gone. Everything that's there is there for a reason, but it's just the older generation. They hate technology.
She sounds adorable though.
And you know what's funny about that is I'm that way too about certain shit. Like, say,
Oh yeah, like
I still
music.
can't figure out Instagram. No, not music, you motherfucker. What the
You
hell were
can't
you
figure
just
out it.
saying? Music?
Yeah.
You're the guy who won't come out of the past, fucking winger. Give me a break.
Oh,
I'm like, listen to this new progressive dark metal album by Dowd Heimsgard. I don't want to hear it. Don't tell me what to listen to.
you know,
I can't believe that's your only reason for being so obstinate on this show. And
obstinate.
like, you won't listen to anything because I told you to. And you know, I know what you like. I think you're going to like it. Just like you liked Resurrection.
True.
Did you listen to Antimatter? I remember, I think you said you heard that.
Yeah.
That's like the Anathema side project. It's like a dark rock trip hop thing, like Massive Attack kind of. What did you
Okay.
think of that?
No, it was good. I mean,
I'm really into
it's
that record right now. I can't get enough of it. Maybe that's where I need to go. Is like that kind of music for a while.
what the what was it called again? Antimatter.
Yeah, it's kind of generic. The band's called Antimatter. It's just I think the guy and the girl from Anathema, who are a UK doom metal band, of course, as
Yeah.
everybody listening knows, all both of them.
I remember buying an Anathema album. Um,
I was never much
maybe,
into Anathema, and like My Dying Bride. Like the British stuff is really boring. I think. Sorry,
so it
British
was put
people.
me to sleep. It reminded me of like kind of like a Pink Floyd sort of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's funny
and I
you
can't
said
remember
that
what
because
album
I
it was,
really
but
got that vibe too. Like when I had the Abyss, I used to do this thing where on the back of the CD, I put a sticker and write like a little tiny description of the CD because I saw its
mm,
shop in Texas did that. So I'm like, that's a cool idea. Then that way people just kind of read what it is and they'll probably buy it based on that instead of wanting to unwrap it and listen to it or just take a chance and they don't like it.
mhm.
So I wrote something about Pink Floyd on there because that struck me too as having like a Pink Floyd, like kind of wish you were here, kind of animals kind of feel to it.
Yeah,
It was
that
like
real
dark
sort of
rock.
floaty, yeah.
It was
Which
like
is it's
dark
cool
rock, but it
stuff.
had keyboards, and it was almost like a 70s kind of feel to it. Almost.
Mhm. And it's weird because it's good music, but it's like it's one of those styles that it's like, well, it's good. I just don't know if it's one of those ones where I have to be in a mood to listen to it, and I'm rarely in that mood. Like I'm never really in a somber mood or introspective. I tend to avoid
Now, is it
if
somber sad for you, or is it just somber? Because to me, it's not sad so much as it is just kind of
well,
rainy,
I mean,
rainy skies, and you're just sitting there in your black turtleneck and just staring off your porch into the fucking evergreens, thinking about this girl that you love, or some shit. I don't know. It's got
I
that kind of feel to it.
I mean, it's melancholy to me,
It is. It's
and,
cool.
and I
It's a
do
good
tend
one.
to. I think I tend to just sort of, I don't know, something about that, and maybe it's like my headspace has just never been, you know, hasn't been there in a while where I can like listen to it and appreciate it without it like being a bummer, like without my starting to feel sorry for myself or something.
Well, it's not about you being sad about your life. It's just
I
some
know.
nice melancholy music, just like
I
black
know
metal in
they're
its
not
own way.
literally trying to make me sad, but that's just how I get when around like somber music. Just like,
No, I thought you'd like it just because of like what it was, because it was different, but it was metal people branching out and doing like trip hop-ish kind of stuff almost. But
I don't know. I'm trying to think of what I've been listening to, because I'm always listening to something, But oh, let's see. Let me go over my playlist. I'm just gonna look at my history here. I'll tell you what I've been listening to. Let's see.
been doing a lot of ambient, dark ambient stuff myself lately, and a lot of industrial. And usually it's black metal. And like we
Uh-huh.
early on, we had some nice dark fall weather, and I really got into the black and doom metal. But I don't know, it kept getting sunny and stuff, and now it's like hot, cold, hot, cold. I'm off my game. I don't know what to listen to now.
Wow. I know. You're so methodical in your
I
listening
really
habits.
am. I need to.
Like it's
I
got
don't
to
know.
be like the weather has to be a certain way.
That is true, and I think that might be a detriment. But when it hits you right, it hits you right. It's perfect. But like,
Yeah.
it's kind of. I don't know. There's not really anything grabbing me right now. Like, I'm not really interested to hear Kerry King's new band because it just looks like it's going to be more of like the jigga-jin, jin, jigga-jin, jin, jigga-jin, jin, jigga-jigga-jin.
Well, there's not any. There hasn't even been like any kind of single or anything
Yeah, I know, but
released
I'm
yet
just
from
like,
it.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's going to be like total ripping thrash. Maybe it could be something different on his own. But I just kind of get the feeling like Kerry was maybe that guy who did like the chugga chugga shit. Like, but I don't know.
He looks like it. I mean, and it's one of those things like, oh, we shouldn't judge him by his appearance, but he is kind of like that. The
Well, he's
travel.
always been like one of the main songwriters of the band. That was kind of what I mean. But and he does look like that kind of guy too. But
Yeah.
but
So,
isn't he one of the main songwriters? As far as I know, it was him and Jeff that
well,
did everything, wasn't it? And just Tom and the drummer kind of just followed, or am I wrong? Tom did mostly the lyrics, and
I've never really looked into that, but
I
I
don't
mean,
know. I
I
haven't gotten
think
into
I think
Slayer since Rain and Blood, really. So
I think Jeff Hanneman though is responsible for my favorite Slayer song, which is and of course Angel of Death, which I still think that breakdown riff is one of the most just wicked, like evil sounding riffs ever written. Um,
yeah,
that part. It's just
yep,
so
yep. I remember we talked about that. I guess the last
crazy.
time we talked, if I remember, you brought that up. But
No, I bring it up all
why
the
do you
time
think
though.
that's the best part?
It's just the way it goes into it. So I mean, it's kind of like a typical Slayer sort of fast. It's just where I like when bands can like do that, where everything drops out and it's just this riff, like a change. And there's this just evil, gnarly guitar riff. And then the band comes back in, but it's like the way it comes in and the note choices of that riff is just so kind of dark and chromatic. So, and it just, yeah, and something about the energy of it. It's just so sinister. One of the most sinister riffs.
You mean the that one? Why is that sinister?
I know something about it. Like,
It just kind of sounds like they just suddenly stopped and went for a walk or something. It's like it's kind of after all that other heavy fast stuff and
yeah. Well, no, because I mean, it just shifted the song, and then it kind of gets in that groove because it's like a halftime riff. And I think halftime is always cool when something goes fast and then they drop it into halftime. It's way cool. But no, I mean that riff just like makes my grit my teeth. I'm just like, "Argh." Not, I mean, there's a few riffs out there that do it, but you know, that's one like kind of at my top of just most just just malevolent sounding riffs. So what was I listening to? I'm just going to YouTube history here.
have
Let's
you
see.
ever heard of the band from Japan called Intestine Baalism?
Intestinal.
Baal?
Isn't it intestinal baalism?
Yeah, intestinal
Yeah, kind of
Baalism
like
or Baalism.
uh,
I think we mentioned this before too,
I
but
think we talked about it, and I'm pretty sure I haven't.
they're Japanese brutal
Are they
fucking death metal,
are
like
they
super heavy
slam?
brutal. No, 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 not at all.
Oh,
There's super brutal death metal, like say Incantation, Suffocation, like probably heavier than those bands.
okay.
But they'll stop in the middle of the song and like they'll have this breakdown, but it's like this super heavy metal Judas Priest kind of riff or
Hmm.
Iron Maidenish, like just like that. Then they'll
I love
start
that
going into this
stuff.
slow bridge in the song, and then it comes back to the like the crazy shit. It was on Repulse Records, which is Dave Rotten from Evolst in Spain.
Hmm.
And I used to trade with him all the time, and I'd have all that shit here for sale at the heavy metal shop back in the day, and I'd just sell it out of my mail order. I wish I would have kept one, because looking back on it, at the time I didn't like that. But of course now, with wanting anything different, I'm like, fuck, that would sound good right now. They haven't had that record for like decades, but I think you would like that one.
So stuff I've listened to recently, as far as like new stuff, I listened to the new Dying Fetus album,
How
which
was
is
that?
it's just classic Dying Fetus, just I like they're another band that just has these like, I mentioned
Did they get
groove.
more raw at all, or are they still polished and produced?
I'd say it's a little raw, but I mean they're still tight, like super tight. And it's
Well,
I
they're
don't think it's
always going to be that.
overproduced, it sounds organic to me. And then the new Suffocation, kind of the same thing. It sounds like Suffo, um, and has just kind of that just brutal, chuggy kind of stuff, and but no, the Dying Fetus is really groovy, man. They know how to groove like hard, where like but groove in a death metal way. Because then there's, sometimes when metal tries grooving, it becomes like new metal almost. So like if you were to say, I want to listen to groove metal, and you typed in groove metal in YouTube, it would come up with like bands like, you know, uh, POD or something. You know what I mean? Like kind of that new metal, where it's just chugs and a guy kind of yelling over the top of it. But like
Yeah.
death metal grooves are different. They can actually groove in like maybe different time signatures and stuff like that, but you're still kind of moving your hips to it. And Fetus definitely is kind of like at the top of that death metal bands that groove, that really have like that pocket, and I don't know if it has to do with the the drumming. I've kind of been thinking about it, like, how like music either feels like you're being pushed or pulled. And I think a good groove feels like it's pulling you along versus pushing you along, if that makes any sense. And I don't know theoretically, like from a music theory standpoint, what's going on, if it's the quote backbeat, which I don't know exactly what it is, but it reminds me of, if they're playing just slightly behind the beat, and then the music is the instruments like guitars are pulling I don't know. It just, you know what I mean? Like you hear something, you just start kind of viscerally, it starts kind of like making you bob your head like a fucking rooster.
Oh yeah. What
But
about?
another band that does that, which obviously they were really influenced by Fetus, was I mean it's a band I think you like, which is Decapitated, right?
Yeah.
You know how they get in that like a real groove, kind of, but it's still deathy, it's still death metal, it's still fast, but it's just kind of this pocket kind of, and you're just bobbing your head.
I don't think Decapitated does a lot of groovy stuff, do they?
Hmm. Absolutely. But
Hmm.
it's groove from like almost like a tech metal standpoint. I mean, they're playing pretty intricate stuff, but like it's hitting these little pockets, that just sort of, feels like you're being punched in the gut.
What about the new Exhumed? Didn't Exhumed have a new one a while ago? And I heard that one was like more like, I think it was Dustin actually when he does his reviews on Facebook of CDs.
Hmm.
This is Dustin's take on it, of course, but it was like he said it was like really raw grindcore sounding. I'm like, well, that sounds interesting to me because Exhumed's kind of been doing that more heavy
Exhumes.
metal classic stuff for a while too, like infused in their music. And suddenly, if they went to like a Napalm Death kind of sounding thing. That would be cool.
I mean,
But that's kind of how they started.
Exhumed's always had it like kind of a grind, you know.
Well, they have, but they're like, for a while there, they had some albums come out that were doing the same thing as, like, say, Intestine Baalism. There'd be like a Judas Priest kind of sensibility. The songs were like 3-4 minutes long, and they weren't all fast. They kind of didn't quite lose the gore edge, but it wasn't quite as in your face and offensive. I think it sounds like they've gone back like extremely the other direction, which I always love when a band does that.
I'd say like they're only like real like almost polished sounding album to me, which I mean I still like it. It's still like exhumed and raw as shit. Was Anatomy is Destiny, I think is the album.
I was just gonna say that's the one that has like the girl's face on the front where it's like all dark and there's just a face, but their eyeball is like pulled wide open or something, or
yeah, and it's they even had almost like a minor, like I wouldn't even say it's a hit, but it was like their kind of a bigger song for them. It's called Matter of Splatter, but it's still, I mean, it was still brutal death metal. I mean, I don't know, you know, it starts to become, you know, you're
that's
almost
actually
like,
funny. That's funny you said that because that reminds me that was a topic I wanted to breach with you, and I forgot to even mention it. But where you probably don't know,
mm,
but in the 90s, around towards the late 90s, like 95, around there, 94, 95, like probably a little even earlier than that, but there was mostly all the bands on Nuclear Blast, which they were kind of the same as Relapse. They kind of like shared bands.
mm-hmm.
And there were other bands from Europe at the time too that were doing like heavy death metal and grindcore, and they all, to a band, almost just stopped doing that and started doing what they called grind rock. Do you know anything about that?
I mean, I don't
The biggest
like,
example I can give you is Amorphous. You know the band Amorphous?
oh yeah, no, Amorphous almost, they almost turned in like a folk prog metal, like almost like a 70s style. Like they started kind of almost going like 70s style. I would say
Yeah,
when I think of like almost like death rock or grind rock would be the direction Entombed took, you know, when they
yeah, and Tomb
did
kind of started that
Wolverine
with that
blues.
Hollow Man, the
Was a
Hollow Man
Hollow.
record, the EP.
Okay.
And then that had the song Wolverine Blues on it, and then they had the album Wolverine Blues that followed that up. And
Yeah.
that was around the time that I was trying to do a zine called Macabre Zine, and I interviewed Nicky Anderson, the drummer. And I'm like, so why did you start playing grunge? And he just looked at me and he's like, grunge? I'm like, yeah. And
Yeah.
he's
Well,
like, we don't play
I
grunge.
would
I'm like,
probably I don't blame him. I don't think they would I wouldn't consider that grunge at
well, that's what it
all.
sounded like to me. It was like, just it wasn't
Right.
death metal. Okay, well, he said that, and I'm like, well, I said, well, you changed your sound a little bit. I mean, it's a little more, it's not quite as heavy Swedish death metal. It's a little more watered down, a little more rock structured. And that's why I said, I think I said it's more rock structured. And he's like, well, I don't think we've really changed at all. I'm like, dude, come on. Yes, you have. Like, you're doing a song called Wolverine Blues now and Hollow Man. And that sounds drastically different from Abnormally Deceased and Left Hand Path and Supposed to Rot. Like, it's not the same stuff. Come on, man. And
Yeah.
I have that still on the cassette tape too, that interview. But he wasn't pissed or anything, but he was kind of like, what? And I'm like, okay. I just kind of like
Yeah.
covered it
Yeah.
up. But
I don't think they were thinking of that at all, you
and
know.
and the
But I
thing
think they
was,
were probably it's probably like it was probably like a Carcass sort of thing where they're
well, all
kind
the
of
bands were
thinking
doing that. That's where I was going with that. That's what I was saying. All the bands
it's
at
more
that
like a
time were doing that.
rootsy. They were like they were almost going back to the 70s, you know, in a with sensibilities, which I don't necessarily think was a bad thing. And I think a lot of those bands that did that have kind of like corrected back into like a happy medium, you know. And I think a good example is the newest Carcass album, right? It has like has all the elements of like the early, you know, all the Carcass catalog, but there's almost like a fuzzy, like hippie 70s kind of um, just sort of nuance to it. And I think it's pretty cool.
Well, at that time, and see, in Tomb that day, I interviewed them before they went on stage, and then when they played pretty much nothing but stuff from the first two albums, which were the death metal ones. And I think they played Hollow Man,
Mm.
the Hollow Man song and like one or maybe one other song or something. And that was funny too because they came with a band called The Unsane, which was like a punk rock kind of just garage rock kind of indie band. And that wasn't metal or at all, let alone death metal. So it was a really weird time, but they played a really good set of just death metal. But there were a lot of bands from back then. Like there's a band called Convulse from Finland that were like one of those super heavy death grind bands. They went from doing that to doing like really clean rock stuff and like stuff about singing about the sun and stuff instead of death and gore. And
Yeah, why
there was
not?
Amorphous did that. Amorphous started out really heavy brutal, and then they went to like, doing like the keyboards, and then after that it got the like just rock. And then The Gathering, I think The Gathering started out as like a death band too. They had keyboards in it, and it was really weird and different. But they
Then they
went
got
like just straight
so
rock.
when did they always have Anik Vern? I don't know her name. The really just charismatic singer for The Gathering.
The
She's
stuff I have, like their very very first album, like it's a guy doing vocals, and
mm,
there was a female member of the band, but I don't know if I don't remember hearing any female vocals on it really, but
mm,
unless the chick had a pitch shifter on her vocals, but it was a guy. You could tell it was a guy, but that was way back then.
mm.
Like they started off as just a death metal band, but there was some keyboards in it. That's all it
Yeah,
was. And then there was
and they turned into almost like an ambient, like sort of pop, almost like a Bjork almost type thing. It's really good. I mean, I love some of that later Gathering stuff. Really kind of
there were a
ambient.
bunch of bands. There was one called, who was it? Oh, it was Disgrace was another really super heavy death grind band from Finland.
Mhm.
I had their first album. It was on Intellectual Convulsion, which was I think a British label. They're also the first label that put out I Hate God, and then that's where Century Media kind of bought that rights for that album, their first album. But this band Disgrace were like just like super heavy, brutal grindcore, like hit every box. It was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And then their next album, that was like just it was called Detergent Bubble Bath, I think, if I remember. And it was like, I
Mm,
got it from Morbid Records, who I used to trade with. He sent me a promo of it. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Is it the same Disgrace? He's like, yeah. I'm like, what are they doing? He's like, is this new thing called grind rock everybody's doing? I'm like, grind rock?
mm.
And he's like, yeah, like, and there's other bands like Pyogenesis. They did that. They were like a doom metal band. They kind of started doing this grind rock thing, and like Amorphous did that, and it was just really weird. Like it was just rock. It was just like clean vocals, like just no distortion, no speed, no thrash, no nothing. It was just like, what? Like, come on, no, like
Yeah,
it was
you
a
you
disappointing
don't like
time for
bands to
me.
change, do you?
Well, okay, but look at it this way: is you're into these bands because they're extreme, heavy, and dark for a certain
Uh,
specific type of music that you like them for, and they completely shed all of that and change radically. I'm like, change is okay, but it was like, what the fuck, man? And like this isn't even like remotely the same band. Like if they're gonna do that, we had this argument before too, is like, should they stay the same band or should they do a different project? Or is it all under the
yeah.
same thing? But most of that stuff, like, and let's face it, like a lot of those bands didn't survive. They put out one album like that and they disappeared. Like I think Amorphous went on for a while.
Well, they're
And
still.
actually
I think
there's a
they're still
few other
around.
ones. Yeah, they're still around. I think they were just
Didn't
here not too long
wasn't
ago.
Would you say Enslaved kind of was that did that thing too? They
No,
sort of
no, no. See, Enslave was a natural progression because they've always been really intricate, long songs, really progressive, really technical. So I saw that one coming a while ago. So, and they're, if anything, like a black metal Pink Floyd. So Enslaved is
mm,
pretty good. But I'm talking about these guys were just playing like rock, just straight up, just rock music. That was it. It
mm.
was like indie rock too. It wasn't like hard rock. It was like indie rock. And this was in the 90s, keep in mind. So there's another band called Morgoth from Germany. They did that. Um, what was I was thinking there was another one too, but I think Amorphous, yeah, there was a bunch, and like they just most of them didn't last past one album when they did that, but there were a few who made it. And then also I was gonna say some of those Century Media bands like Samael, they kind of carried on for a while. They were a little bit more industrial, and I think Tiamat was one of them. They were death metal, like a dark death metal thing with keyboards, and they kind of went that route. And
Hmm. I
and
mean,
Earache Records.
Another band, I mean, well, you might even be able to say like Cynic. They started off as like a sort of a technical, almost like their demos sound like just like really good Florida death metal. And then they put out Focus, which already introduced like kind of the keyboards, but by the time they get to like their third or fourth album, they're actually almost like there's almost like no death vocals.
Well,
And
yeah, didn't Death do that? Like, I didn't follow Death very much after Human, and like by the time
no,
they put out
no,
that, what was that?
he's one that kind of did what you probably suggested, which was when he finally went all clean singing, he changed the name of the band to Control Denied and put
Is
out
that what that was, or was it just a side project? I always thought that was a side project that he was doing.
well, I mean, it was a
It was the
project.
same guys, wasn't
I
it?
think I
Like,
think but I think from day one, like if you even in old interviews, he wanted to be have a melodic singer always. He he just kind of became the vocalist of Death because he couldn't find a singer, so he just did it, and he didn't have the range of like a Bruce Dickinson or a Rob
it
Halford, which
sounds
is
like
what
he
he
did.
wanted.
Have you ever heard
No,
their version of Painkiller? He totally can hit those.
oh, well, no, because his rasp is he's got it, but I think he genuinely wanted a clean singer kind of thing.
It sounds like if he could have
He
worked
was
at it,
never
he
he
would have
was
had
never
it.
comfortable with even kind of being
Because
credited
that
as with death metal. I mean,
Painkiller is not an easy song to sing, and he pulled that
no,
off flawlessly, and he had really high vocals
yeah,
on there.
yeah, but it's
So,
kind of like, I mean, it's a falsetto sort of thing, that he's doing, but it's not. It's still it's not a clean voice that he's doing. He's still
well,
using his
it
Chuck
could
Schumer
be. I mean, he was
notes.
still up there, but they were still called Death. It was the Sounds of Perseverance. That was, I mean, more or less. I think that what one was that in the scheme of things? Was that like the next to last album? I don't know. Let's see on
I
BNR Metal pages what they say
I
here.
think The Sounds of Perseverance was his last album as Death. Either that or Symbolic. I don't. But I think it's Perseverance.
Oh, that was their last album. That's interesting. What's that one with the planets on it? What was that one?
The what?
Didn't they have a record come out that had like it was like into I thought it was had like two like planets on the cover of it, or am I just not do I not know what I'm talking about?
You don't know what you're talking about.
I could
Two
swear
planets.
they had an album that had it was
Are
like had a
you're thinking
picture
of
of outer
Atheist?
space on it. No, I'm pretty
Think
sure
of
it was yeah.
Atheist? No. Atheist had an album with planets on it. I think it was even called Jupiter.
Let's see, no, it's not that one. I could swear that Death put out an album that, and I thought I wanted to say it was Individual Thought Patterns, that they had
Mm-mm.
like
Individual
just
Thought
outer
Patterns has
space,
like that. Is like an
or it was did
X-ray
they
of a
have an
skull.
album? Did they have an album called Cosmic something something or other? Or
No.
I don't know. Maybe it's the back of the album or something. I don't know.
I
Well,
think I think he has a
anyways,
song called Cosmic Sea or something. I don't know.
yeah,
But no, yeah, there's nothing about. I mean, he didn't have any albums with planets on it. No.
yeah. And I noticed Death too. It was probably around the time around Human or after, like right after that. They on the T on the logo, they still kept like the scythe and the cobwebs. But they started to clean it up little by little, and
Yeah,
like the T,
the T used to be an upside down cross, but now it's
yeah.
they right sided it up.
I don't think he right sided it up. I think it was just in the middle. But
Yeah, I think once again he didn't want to necessarily be known as even like because he didn't really sing too much about like gore since Scream Bloody Gore. He
in that
pretty
first
much
album, I mean, goddamn, that was a pretty fucking brutal album as far as lyrics go. I mean,
yeah
sacrificial cunt and
regurgitated guts. Yeah, I mean, but once he got into like especially like starting with like spiritual healing on, he was done singing about like just violence, at least from like just a gratuitous standpoint. Of course he still had like dark subject matter, but it was never just, gore for the sake of gore or anything like that, like a Cannibal Corpse would do. But No, I mean, and he wasn't even comfortable necessarily like with being credited for being one of the forefathers of death metal. You know, he would always like toss that back to like Possessed or even early Sodom and that kind of thing. But because he's like, I mean, he was the one that even pointed out it's like Possessed even had they had a song called death metal before I even came along.
Yeah, Possessed did, and the band Onslaught from England also had a song called Death Metal. It was, and I've said this before too, is Bathory, when he did his first 3 albums, he would refer to his music as death metal in all the interviews I read with him at the time. Because it was about death. That wasn't a style of music yet. It was just they were playing thrash, but he would refer to his music as death metal, and then Possessed did that, and then Onslaught did that, and they were the only ones who ever really did it. And after that, it just kind of
Yeah,
that dark, heavy stuff kind of went away, and it all became like about skating and socio-political stuff, and that's kind of when it all changed. And then later on, grindcore and glam rock.
yeah,
So anyway,
grindcore and glam rock. There should be
so
glamcore. That's probably already a genre. It sounds
it's
too.
funny that you say that, because I always thought that it would actually be kind of a cool idea. And I used to talk about this with Mike Kimball. I'd be like, why don't we have music that sounds like say Cannibal Corpse, but maybe without as much of the growl vocals, but it's about fucking and sex,
Well, dude,
but not with gore, just like,
or not, and it can't be like porno grind either.
no,
Like
not
it's got
that
to be
either. Just
just
like,
partying and having
so
a
you
good
take the
time.
lyrics of Kiss and the
Right,
lyrics of like whoever, like glam band, and then add
right.
it to the music of like,
Cannibal Corpse or something. I think you know what? I think there might be a band that's done that. Let me look them up. There's a band called Party Cannon, which I think is like a death grind
are
band.
they a real band though, or are they one of those fake ones like
Oh no,
Happy Time,
they're
Story
a
Time Hour, or
real
whatever? One of those stupid bands where it's just like hipster kids trying to make fun of death metal.
right. So Party Cannon is a legitimate band, and you look at their album covers, and it's like literally like party theme, like balloons and like birthday cake kind of stuff. Um, let me I just want to pull up some song titles. Let's see. Songs. Let's see. There's a reason you're single. They're almost like some of the song titles almost sound like anal cunt. But duct tape to a flagpole. Tyrone put that sugar down. Nauseating and unpalatable. So they're death metal, but they kind of have like maybe they're almost like a really tongue in cheek. So looking at the song titles, Russian Zombie Smack, Party Apocalypse, uh, Keg, Stand By Me, uh, Interested is not the word. Everyone is still dead to me. 60 Stone Threesome, Keg Crusher,
That doesn't sound
Naked
like
Beach
what I'm talking
Frenzy.
about. That just sounds more like just funny lyrics in general, and mostly
Yeah,
about beer and shit. But I'm talking about like sex, not gore, not
you need to
death,
get
just
laid.
sex.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so their album's
Look
called
who's
Partied in
talking, the guy who
Half.
lives in Wyoming.
I know. Well, I there's not
Well,
many
anyways, that
prospects
that
on
was my
there.
idea. Is it would be funny to have like a heavy,
Well,
grindy death metal band with like sex lyrics instead of just like gore and all of that. But
I mean,
um,
I've thought about that too in a sense where it's like I in some ways I've tried to kind of maybe pull it off every once in a while, which is where you almost have the aggression of a death metal band or a Cannibal Corpse, but you're even playing almost like the same sort of like riff stylings as like a Poison or something, where it's like kind of major key upbeat, but with like just brutal sound. You know what I mean? And kind of like seriously try to pull it off. Where it's like kind of groovy and
so
rock.
let's say you have Poison, Talk Dirty to Me, that opening riff.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it had to be like.
No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I
That could
mean,
be done. That could be
yeah.
done.
I mean, maybe someone's done it. I don't know. There's so many fucking musicians out there. I'm sure someone's taken my idea.
There's
Because I mean,
also a
I sort of
band.
already, I was sort of doing it even back in the day where I was like kind of. I mean, I love like old R&B, and I always wanted to like metalize that sound. So I play a lot of like almost jazz chords, R&B type chords, with just chuggy, but try to turn them into like kind of more chuggy, chunky, crunchy riffs. But why not take it a step further and try to fuse like a band like Extreme and you know or Winger, but just heavy it up. Like I don't know, could work.
There's a band too that's also like a joke band, and they're called not Kevorkian and Death Cycle. That's an industrial band, but there's another band called Kevorkian and Death Machine or something like that. They're like also kind of one of those joke metal bands that they
Mhm.
don't really, they're not a real band, but they're on like Facebook or something or MySpace or.
Uh-huh.
But they apparently all their songs are about Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. So like there's a quote like that's the name of
Get
the
in the
song, and like
chopper.
so yeah, that's exactly. There's one like that. There's
Oh,
one called "See You at the Party,
you're talking
Richter."
about Austrian Death Machine.
Yeah, is that it? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was Kevorkian Death something. But it's Is that what it's called? Austrian
Well,
Death Machine?
yeah, that makes more sense about the Arnold
Oh,
Schwarzenegger
okay.
theme.
Yeah, there it comes up. Yep, that you're right.
Yeah, man, don't fucking question me. Um, oh, what was I gonna say?
Come with me if you want to live.
Yeah, that's the album.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
anyway.
Never heard him. And once again, like I probably avoided it. I think the same reason I avoided Party Cannon. It just kind of at the same time, like I don't know, like I don't want goofy lyrics in my death metal so much. I don't want.
Well, I don't either. But I mean, I was just saying for the
But I know what
perspective
you're
of
talking about.
glam.
Like I know exactly what you're saying. Like kind of like the Kiss swagger and sort of um, lyrical
That's why
approach with like a
that's why I
brutal
thought
sound.
it would be funny because if anyone would be the total ace to pull that off, it would be Mike Kimball.
Would he?
Because that's
Is
the
he
kind
into
of guy
that?
he
Like,
is.
well, because
He
he's a
likes
super sweet guy, but
well, he likes heavy death metal music. He likes playing it, and he likes heavy metal music. But his real true heart of hearts is into like heavy metal, like Judas Priest and all that. But he likes death metal. So I'm like, and we always talked about like, why not? And he would say that too. He's like, yeah, they should just. Why isn't there a band that just sings about partying and fucking like Kiss and Motley Crue and Judas Priest, but they're heavy like Cannibal or
that's
something? I'm like,
well.
why don't you do it?
Have you heard of the band? Have you heard of Millennium?
No.
Okay, so it was a band that Ralph Santola, who was in like Death, he was in Obituary. He played a couple albums with Deicide.
Does that
Have
have
you,
something to do with monstrosity?
no, no. He might have. I mean, everybody's played with Monstrosity at one point in their life. I think I might have even done a stint. Um,
Were you in monstrosity? How did you turn into such a poser?
no, I'm not a poser.
Oh,
Just
yes, you are.
I don't know if you ever watched the Cannibal Corpse documentary. It's sort of funny because it's like every member of like it would always be like okay, like Cannibal Corpse uh needs a guitar player, right? Or something, like Rob Barrett leaves or something. So there'll be like a well that's okay, so that's where they got Corpse Grinder. I think that's where it started. Like Monstrosity gets Corpse Grinder to sing for them. And then Chris Barnes leaves Cannibal Corpse. And then Cannibal Corpse steals Monstrosity singer. So they're like, okay, shit. And then I think Rob Barrett joined Monstrosity and then ends up joining Cannibal Corpse. And then I think even Pat O'Brien was in Monstrosity for a little while and then joins Cannibal Corpse. So it's like and there's like an interview with like Carl Sanders from Nile. He's like seems like if you're in Monstrosity, that's a good band that you can join if you want to go to another band. Like it's just kind of funny. They just sort of seem a little, just like, oh, okay, yeah, Cannibal took another member of ours. So
Yeah, well, that happened a lot with like
it happens a
Cynic though
lot.
too. Cynic and Sadist always had like people who like were giving up members to other bands. But you were
Well,
saying this band Millennium.
yeah, Millennium. Okay, so it's a band that Ralph Santola uh, started, and it's like almost like really melodic hard rock is what I'd call it. With like a bit of a European style hard rock. Like think, have you heard bands like Pretty Maids or Europe even? The band Europe.
Yeah.
It's kind of in that style. But what's interesting is like his riffs and his like his guitar riffs, like the same sound he uses on Millennium is like the same guitar tone that he's using for like Deicide or it's still like a really crushing tone, but he's playing like these more uh melodic rock type riffs. It's pretty cool. It's really good stuff. And he was a very underrated player. Like he's up there with the best of them. But he passed away recently. That was like 2016, I think, 17.
So in a completely unrelated story, I've got a 1951 wheat penny here. Is that worth money?
It's worth about 1 cent.
No, there's wheat pennies that are worth money. Like, how do you know? How do you tell?
I don't think the wheat pennies are so much worth. I think you had to like actually be like more like in the 20s,
Well,
1920s,
yeah, that's what I mean. It depends on the time and like certain like chemical makeups of them. Some are made with like copper, I think, and
with actual copper.
something. Like I keep coming across them because I work in a restaurant and deal with the cash every night.
Mm.
I don't know. I just have it here, and
Yeah,
there's
hold
like
on
a.
to it. I mean, it might be worth something in another 50 years. So,
But more importantly than that, do you
mm,
know what's worth more than any wheat penny to me?
what?
Linda Carter.
Friendship. What? Oh, she's smoking hot.
She is so fucking beautiful.
Hell yeah. Did
I
she
think
pass away?
her. I don't think so. I haven't really looked. I just keep for some reason
That was old Wonder Woman, man. She was just
my
getting
newsfeed is full
stoned.
of like beautiful women of the 70s, which of course must be geared towards me because I
Yeah.
would, if I had a time machine, I've said many times, I would be gone. I'd be in the 70s. Like, fuck you, goodbye.
Yeah,
Put the internet.
you like those hairy, just big old bushes, right? 70s.
But it's not even just about that. But hey, that's a part of it.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
go
No, I
with it.
don't. Yeah.
But Linda Carter is just so fucking beautiful. And like the
Oh, she's
earlier
hot.
back you go before Wonder Woman, she's so good looking. Just like
Mhm.
wow,
Yeah,
so
I love
gorgeous.
those old like 60s and 70s. Like,
But
man,
you know who else I
Annette
like?
Funicello. Give me a break, man.
All of those girls, all of them are beautiful. But like also Erin Gray. Do you know who Erin Gray is?
Uh, is it Erin?
Yeah, she played Colonel Wilma Deering on the Buck Rogers show, and that's where I mostly know her from. And she was so fucking beautiful on that show.
Oh
And she
yeah.
wore like that skin tight white suit with the white boots, or
Oh
she'd wear
yeah.
like a blue one or a brown one sometimes.
Or
And all the girls that were on Buck Rogers were hot as fuck too. But she was also on Silver Spoons later on in the '80s with
yeah, she
Ricky
was the
Schroeder.
mom.
But
I like what about like a young Goldie Hawn?
I was never much into Goldie Hawn. Not so much into the blondes, but
Or how about young Sally Field, huh?
no.
What? Look it up, dude. She's smoking.
There's certain ones. It's just like nah. And I
You
don't
know,
go for blondes either, like blondes and
Sally
like
Field
this.
isn't blonde, dude. She's just like
No, I know
she's
she's like a
floating.
brunette, but you know who else actually speaking about like old time like chicks that are like pinup girl hot was also Mary Tyler Moore. Like when she was on the Dick Van Dyke show,
Oh yeah.
she was fucking beautiful too. And she looked pretty good, like all the way. She's still alive, right?
I
I think she
don't
still looks
know.
pretty good. I mean, they're all getting old now, obviously, but they still, for their age, they look pretty decent. Like Debbie Harry from Blondie, you know, she's obviously
Yeah.
getting old, but she still looks pretty decent.
What about Cyndi Lauper? She's still
And
cute.
I can't get into Lopper. That accent, forget it.
What?
Sorry. I'm from back east. That accent does not
Dude,
fucking light me up. Sorry.
she's
Bye bye.
adorbs.
I don't think she's hot anyway, but
Oh, I always thought she was super cute.
my friend Jill, here's how we're gonna tie this back in the metal. My friend Jill, who did Razorback Records, remember that label, the gore
Hmm.
death metal label?
Yeah.
I used to talk to her all the time in the 90s, and she was from New York, and she had all these fucking friends from New York, and there was this Italian girl named Andrea. And of course, I'm Italian. I'm like, okay, cool, an Italian girl. That's what I gotta have, being the naive dumb fuck that I was. So I'm like, okay. So she sends me a picture of this girl. I'm like, oh shit, she's beautiful. Really? Is she single? And like, I live in Utah. Like, what's gonna happen? But so she has her call me, and she leaves me a message. I wasn't home. She's like, "Hi, JR, how are ya? This is Andrea. Give me a call." I'm like, "Oh no, no,
Hmm.
can't do it. Sorry.
I would not. I have no problem with that.
Oh, that would be terrible. You just don't know. You haven't lived back east, so
No, my ultimate. You believe it or not, my
that accent
ultimate.
is like a deal breaker. It's fucking horrendous. It's so bad, and with that accent comes just attitude too. So I'm telling
So
you.
my ultimate like celebrity crush is like Drew Barrymore.
See,
She's
I'm not a fan at all of Drew Barrymore. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, Drew Barrymore." Although I
she's
will
just the
say
best.
this, like, I was never one to think that Alyssa Milano was hot per
Oh, dude,
se.
she was really cute.
But she is, and the reason for me why that's hard is because I first encountered her as the little girl in Commando, where she played Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter. I'm like, to me,
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
that little girl. I'm like,
yeah. So I mean, yeah, there's a weird
but
sort of like,
sometimes we'll have on TNT for sports in the restaurant, and then the next morning I'll be at work and it'll be on like Charmed. They'll have Charmed on all fucking day
hmm
on TNT. So I'm like, who are these girls on the show Charm, man? There's a lot of good looking girls on this show. And like she's one of them. Like, actually she's pretty good looking in there. But then there's like some other like kind of gothy, like mod looking chicks in there that I think are pretty hot, but I don't know who they are. But
yeah.
anyway, yeah.
I don't know how we got on this, but
I just brought
uh
it up about Linda Carter because I just been seeing her in my news feed a lot. And
he's still pretty smoking is Elvira,
yeah, her too.
but she's actually a redhead. I don't know if you
She
knew
is
that.
really a redhead in real life, but as far as what I've known, she's gone on the other
Yeah,
side now. I
I
think
like
she's a
redheads
lesbian
too.
now.
Oh well, I mean,
But still, we can still
nothing
like
wrong with it.
not at all, but we can still look at her and go, "Oh man."
Yeah, well, hey, we got off the rails.
And I know we think all the girls are hot in metal, like most of them anyway.
Yeah,
I know that was a big thing about Lita Ford and Doral Pesh. There was like a little riot, not with them per se so much, but their fans.
yeah, he was
Like everybody was like Lita Ford's hotter, but everybody else was like on the other side, like, well, fucking Doro
Dor
doesn't sell her ass, and she knows how to rock. And
yeah, Doro's she's authentic, and so is Lita. I mean, they're both still doing it.
yeah, they
Doro
both
and
played
Doro
in
still looks
bands.
good, man. She's in her, I think, her early 60s at this point, and she looks great. So
And I was thinking
Howard
about that the
Jones.
other day too, and I was thinking about us doing this show, and I know we've touched on that before. Is like, do you think that are we still doing that? Are we still judging like female metal musicians by their looks as well as their music? Are we still doing that, or are we?
I mean, I never have. I mean, but it
I
just
know,
seems
but
like,
as a guy, look what we were just saying, like, oh, she's
well,
hot, and
yeah. I
she's
mean,
hot.
we'll definitely
And I'm not
nature
gonna
to do
lie,
hot
let's
or
be
not.
honest with each other. Women love that. They may say one thing or the other, but they love being thought of as beautiful. Fine, great.
Yeah,
You know,
I
and
mean,
that's not the only thing we judge them on for their music. And it's just like the
it's
same with
more it's
guys.
more about how you let them know about it.
Well,
That's
that's true. That's probably
you
exactly
just
how it should be.
they don't mind if everybody thinks they're beautiful. You just don't want every fucking loser coming up and saying, "Hey,
Well, that's
beautiful."
just that's not their saving grace for being in a band. Is like, oh, it's a chick. Well,
Oh
then
no, no,
okay.
they have to be able to chop with everybody else for sure. And that's kind of why I think women in metal are pretty authentic because it's not like it's not like there's an affirmative action program going on where it's like we have to have a certain amount of women in metal, you know.
Well, there
And
never
they're
was. We're not like that, really. I
no,
mean, there's
that's
some
why.
dickheads who are, but
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
well, I mean, who are
It's an
sexist. I
organic.
should clarify what I mean. There's some guys who will judge them just based on their tits, or
No, I mean what I'm saying though is that there was no like we need more women in metal. Let's start like a STEM program to get women. No, they just showed up, right? And started
yeah.
kicking ass. And that's the way it should be. You know, and
That's what I've always
that's why
said
I don't
about
never
Joe
be like,
Bench, Bolt Thrower. Joe Bench just plays
yeah,
metal. She always has. She's
she's been
never
doing it
made one
since the
peep
late
about
'80s. Yeah.
Hear Me Roar or any of that, and
Mm.
she's still doing it, and she's pretty too. So,
Yeah, she's cute as a button. Um,
cute as a button. She'd probably punch you in the face.
I know, dude. But
She'd be like, "You sorry ass poser, go back home to your Extreme records and get the fuck out of here. This is a Bolt
right.
Thrower show."
No,
And
she was. She's definitely more true than I am.
oh yeah, fuck yeah.
I'll definitely
Who's
give that.
not?
Well,
Speaking of which, I'm going to see Possessed and Nunslaughter
are they
in two
coming?
weeks.
No
They
way.
are coming to the Aces High Saloon, which I have not been to yet. Even though
I've been
Jake told
there.
me to come down and have a drink, I saw Jake Rogers one night at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And guess who else is opening up on that show?
Who?
Black Mariah, the band that I almost signed to my label, featuring ex-Absu guys. So it's going to be an interesting show. Like, and there's some
Yeah.
other band with them too. I don't know who they are. It's going to be an interesting show. And Possessed, hell yeah.
Hey, yeah, yeah. It's good to see those guys are still going pretty strong, you know. Their last album
And
was
then
really good.
yeah, and then they have Nunslaughter's been going strong, and I always thought that when Jim from Nunslaughter died, that was the end. But I guess he wasn't like the pivotal member that I thought he was, because my friend Stan has a label called Reality Impaired over in Missouri, and he used to be close friends with all of those guys. So he's always been sending me Nunslaughter tapes and like I think records, CDs. I got all kinds of shit in my storage I haven't even put up on the website yet. But yeah, Nunslaughter's like really old school.
Oh yeah.
Um, and Dwayne, the guy from Decrepit, he's a friend of mine I've mentioned a few times on this show. He goes way back with them too. They're all from Ohio. But anyway, I was surprised to see Nunslaughter was coming because I thought they were kaput, but I guess they're not. It was just their drummer was the guy that Jim was the guy that died, but they're still going strong.
Yeah.
Or I think that's who died. I don't know. I was never really huge into Nunslaughter. I didn't really know too much about them at the time, but anyways, they're coming, and there's I don't know what else. I think Frontline Assembly is coming back with Gary Newman, so that's next year.
Huh.
Definitely going to go see that. Frontline Assembly kind of crosses over into the metal realm every now and then. They have good Tim Skold in their band, as you know.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, let me know when they get Shotgun Messiah back together.
I will, if they got back together, what would they be doing? Industrial or glam? Or would they be doing glam industrial?
I think they'd go back to doing like the hard rock stuff, like the
I don't
glam
know.
stuff.
If you've seen Tim
Because that,
Skold, if you've seen what he looks like and heard what he's been doing lately, I kind of doubt he'd go
I'm,
back to doing that.
well, I mean the sound wise, like, I
Or would
mean
they do it
just
without him?
no, I think if there's going to be a Shotgun Messiah reunion, it has to have Tim Skull and it has to have Harry Cody, the guitar player. It has to have those two. And their industrial attempt was, you know, industrial fans liked it, but that's not their fan base. You know, their fan base was hard rockers. You know, so it didn't do well at all. It wasn't really well received.
Well,
So
maybe so, but they weren't like one of the biggest glam bands. They were like
no, no, they
late in the
were.
game, and they were one of those third tier bands late in the game back then. They
Mhm.
were like 1988 or something, where that shit was already going long gone.
Yeah, yeah. The first album, I mean, could have taken off because that came out like right at kind of at the peak. And then they sort of, you know, the Tim Skull actually did the vocals on the second album, so they changed singers. That second album was really good. It was like kind of, it's like one of those ones that like is sort of critically well received, you know, like from just objectively good, but it just didn't sell, I guess, as much as it could have. You know, they had that sort of a hit with Heartbreak Boulevard. You might even remember that song on the radio. But no, man. That guitar player is so good and one of my favorites. It's one of those guys that puts out 2 albums of great guitar playing and then disappears off the planet. I think he's doing like he's like doing movie scoring kind of stuff now in LA. Which
Yeah,
good
he
for him.
probably won't be back to doing metal then. Here's
He
another one
he's
for you.
pretty active on Instagram and occasionally will post some like jamming, so it's good to see him like just doing anything.
Well, here's some more news for you. Speaking of bands that are getting back and doing their old projects, and they have a girl in the band, is Tom Warrior. Is he's kind of doing this Hellhammer kind of tribute band, but they're called Triumph of Death, which is a Hellhammer song.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they have this brand new album coming out, like this gigantic like book and double album. I'm not even really 100% sure what the fuck this actually is. It sounds like it's just new music. I bought one, but I haven't got it yet. But I'm
Mm.
not even sure really what the premise is of it. I haven't really read anything. I haven't stopped to read anything. But I don't know.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
all wearing corpse paint except for the girl actually, but she's in the band with them, and I'm not sure who's who. I think it might be guys from Triptychon, and I remember there was a girl in Triptychon. It's probably the same band, but that's going to be interesting to hear. Everybody who's got
Yeah.
it so far says it's really good.
Who is she like what does she play? Is she
The one in Triptychon, the girl was the bass player. I'm not sure what this girl does, but maybe that is
she's
maybe.
playing bass too, so it is. I'm looking at a picture. There's like a live shot of her and Tom Warrior.
You
She's
know what's
playing
really
bass.
crazy is I just like put that into Google just because I couldn't remember the name of the band, but guess what website I'm looking at this on?
What website?
Rolling Stone magazine. When did
Oh
they
yeah,
ever try to be so fucking cool?
yeah, they're only like fucking 6 decades behind on metal. They're trying to
Oh
catch
yeah.
up.
Well, I
But
told you back in like the 80s, my sister in like 1985 for Christmas bought me a subscription to Rolling Stone, not knowing that she thought I'd think it was this cool rock magazine. And it was not only a lame hippie bullshit magazine, but it was like even worse because they had like New Wave and Prince and Howard Jones and shit like that in it, like nothing metal whatsoever in the 80s.
mhm.
So there was this new wave girl named Jody that I'd walk home from school with her in the bus every day, and I'd get those, and I just glance through them like, yeah, there's nothing in here. You want it? She's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, it's all yours. Nothing in here for me. Pee Wee Herman, like a 6-page expose on Pee Wee's Big Adventure. No thanks. You go
So
for
where
it.
is she? Mia Wallace. Her name is Mia Wallace, and is she also the bass player of Nervosa? Let me check.
Is she?
I'm looking. I think she might be.
Nervosa
Yes.
broke up, didn't they?
No, but their bass player vocalist either left or was fired. So I think they got us another singer. I don't know. I didn't follow. They're a good band. I love Nervosa. They're talking about all really cute. Um,
So now my question is, girl bands like that, are they purposely being all girl bands? And if so, why? And why don't they just have like a guy fill in on bass?
because I mean, to me, it's like a human nature sort of thing. Like, you know, guys
Or
like
maybe
to,
they just connect with each other's
it's like
energies
a
better.
hang.
But
Yeah. I
well, I
really
mean,
think
metal
that.
people,
I don't
we
think
do
it's
that as
inorganic
metal.
at all.
We do that as metal people, though. Why does it matter what gender they are? I mean,
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying that it's like,
it's a
say,
nice novelty if it's all girls and they're cute and they're good. But I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, it only matters if they're good. Like I don't give a fuck who's in the band, if they're gay, straight, or female, or whatever the fuck. But
sounds like you do.
shut the
No,
fuck up.
no, but I mean, think about it. Like, okay, so
I'm just curious as
you're
to
going
why
to
we're still
okay.
doing the all-female band model now at this stage of the game, when in
Is it
fact
a
in the
model?
'90s it was,
I
huh?
don't think, I don't think it's a model. I think
Well, I'm just saying, like, why are they going out of their way to do that, or is it just
no,
luck of
I
the
don't,
draw, or
I don't
is
think
there
so at
some?
all. I don't even think it's the luck of the draw. I think it's like friends.
No, I
They
guess. All
probably
right,
grew
I
up
guess I could
together. You
see
know
it.
what I
That
mean?
that
Like,
makes more sense, I guess. I mean, I didn't really think of it that way, but
yeah, and also why not? Like, once
Because we
again, it's like,
mentioned, what were you saying?
no, and even then, like, so say they do want to replace their members, why not keep that dynamic?
Well, I mean, that's cool.
Because
It
it
just
is,
strikes
I
me
mean,
that
it
they
is,
probably have a
there
harder
is a
time finding
difference
another girl to
between,
do it than a guy. Maybe I'm wrong.
well,
It is Europe, so.
well, no, I mean, and also it's easier nowadays than it was maybe back in the day too, because
Well, that's for
more
sure,
more
and that's
girls
funny
are
because,
are picking up the instrument and wanting to jam, and so
well, more
why
girls are
not,
getting into this kind of music too. It never used to be that way. That's why
why not? Like, who the hell wants to share, like if it's probably easier for, touring and stuff like that if it's all girls, you don't have to like get separate, like, showers. You don't have to worry about like, I mean, yeah, you'll still have like problems on the bus, but sexual tension might not be one of them.
Hmm.
Maybe it is, but like, I just think, why not? It's probably what they're comfortable with.
Well, I
And
don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying it just seems strange that there are still all female death metal bands, and if so, it just seems like it's a gimmick, to me. And like if it happens
yeah,
that way naturally, like whatever. But
yeah, yeah.
and
I
it's
don't think
funny.
it's
The
I don't
reason
think it's a
why I say
gimmick.
that too is I'm editing a show right now that you and I did like a while ago, and we're talking about Promiscuous, who were an all-female death metal band from Salt Lake City. Not only is that in itself strange, but a death metal band at that time was strange, and an all-girl one, and from
Yeah,
Salt Lake. And not only
yeah.
that, but there were two
And do you
all-girl
think that
bands. There
was?
was another one.
Do you think they were doing that as a gimmick, or was it like,
Well,
hey,
no, they kind of were. They were going out of their way to try to make it all girls, and back then you can see why, of course, because it would be like it would get them huge attention. And they used to
yeah,
practice with their door open at Downtown Music with the lights out. So when they'd finish, they run up to the switch and turn on the switch, and all these guys in the door are like, "Holy shit, it's chicks! What the fuck?" And but at the time though, like they couldn't get a bass player, so one of the girls or a guitarist, I guess, and one of the girls in the band, her boyfriend slash
mhm,
husband filled in on guitar. So it wasn't really an
disordered?
all girl. No,
Yeah,
no, it wasn't disordered.
I wasn't. I thought the guy from Disordered was dating one of them or
He
married to one.
was, but that's not who I'm talking about. It's like a
Mm,
different guy. His name was Tim. But anyway, I mean, I'm just saying they were going out of their way at that time because it was a pretty good press PR gimmick thing to have an all-girl death metal band, and they were from Salt Lake City, and just
yeah,
death metal from Salt Lake back then at all was
yeah.
an anomaly. So it really served them well for a time. But I mean, now in the scheme of things, there are so many girls in metal. I was just like, why is Nervosa? Why don't they just have a dude filling on bass? Is it really?
Why have a dude when you can find another fellow female?
Well,
And
it
I'm not
doesn't matter.
saying,
I'm not saying it should be a guy. I'm just saying it seems strange that they're like I don't know. It just sounds dumb for even bringing it up. But I mean, I'm just saying, what's the?
I'm not gonna tell them how to run their band. They seem to be doing pretty good. And
Well, okay, it's
I think the
fine, but
lady, the former member formed a band called, I think, Crypta, which is
yeah,
also
crypto.
excellent. Of once again, and yeah, and maybe they just like those dynamics now. They're used to female players now, and so
I
that
guess maybe I'm just thinking it in terms of an American. There's just so many. There's a scarcity of females in metal compared to Europe, even now. But
you're thinking
especially,
of it in terms of a bigoted like misogynistic
yeah, that's
group.
exactly what I'm doing. Should I
Yeah,
start referring to you as they, them too?
yeah, if you want. Like, I know what
Yeah,
I am.
whatever.
I'm comfortable. Yeah,
You're
so
uncomfortable.
yes, I am. But yeah, man. What else?
Well,
What
my
else is
point was, it just seemed like it was unusual for that to happen that way. But whatever. I guess it's Europe. They have a lot more of that over there than we have here. So,
Yeah, for the longest time I thought they were Brazilian, but they're
oh, are they
Spanish, I
from
think.
Brazil?
No, I think they're from Spain.
I thought they were Brazilian too, weren't they?
No,
Or
they
am I
are
wrong?
from Brazil. So how is
Well,
well,
over there too. Most other countries are more metal than America. I mean,
maybe Crypto's from Spain. Maybe I'm like totally not knowing my bands.
well, of course you don't. You're a
Oh,
fucking
Crypto is also
poser.
Brazilian. Well, of course, Brazil, man. They just love their metal.
All
Love
right,
it.
let's see. I'm on BNR Metal. Brazilian. Crypta is Brazilian. So now what was the other band called?
Nervosa,
Nervosa.
also Brazilian.
Oh, yeah, they are. They're both Brazilian. That's right.
Hmm.
Oh, wait, let's go back. And there is... No, that's not what I want.
Yeah, go back to Nervosa and you'll see the bass player for Tom Warner's new band. She joined Nervosa in 2020, so it's fairly recent.
Let's see. Well, whatever. I have there's plenty of black metal bands out there that I've been listening to that I discovered later in the game that one or some of the members were female. I
Hmm.
was like, oh, that's interesting because that's also something you don't really see that often, even now, is like females
But
in black metal bands or like.
I'm kind of surprised by that, since I think the aesthetic of black metal is actually a little more feminine, you know. And
You would
no,
have had the shit beat out of you in the 90s.
no, and I'm kind of being serious, the sort of because it's very like it's very gothy in a way, you know.
Some of it, but that just shows how much you don't know about black metal because it's not really gothy. Some of it is, some of it isn't. Like Cradle of Filth is like more of a goth band than they are metal, even let
Hmm.
alone black metal. So of course you have stuff like that, and there's female fronted kind of more black metalish stuff where it's more gothy, but like
I think
real raw black metal, no.
vocally they would actually do really well, since kind of the high raspy sort of
Well,
thing,
that's true. That's true. And
shrieky.
there are some bands who are like that. Like there's one called Astarte who was all females, and one of them no, they were. I think they were might have been from Norway, but there was also some dark ambient bands called. There was one called Agast from way back in the '90s that was on the Cold Meat Records label that did all the industrial and dark ambient back then, and that was the wives of I think Samoth and somebody else from Norway.
Hmm.
And there's another black metal band I think that's all chicks, and I think that's kind of as far as it went. There's like a few members here and there, but you don't see it as much in black metal.
Yeah, you'll probably start seeing more of it.
But there's a band called Sanguinaria that I just got a demo of a while ago, like about a year or so ago, and there was I think a girl in there, but they were more of like a little bit more theatrical, or not theatrical. What's the word? Atmospheric, vampire metal. So they also had the distinction of having cowbell in one of their songs, which I've never heard done in any fucking black metal ever.
Oh.
So, and they sing in Portuguese, but they're from Finland. So I'm not real sure what's going on there. But so,
Huh.
anyways, what time do you have to be up? A few hours?
Yeah, I probably ought to turn it
Turning
in.
into a pumpkin, a genderless pumpkin that's offended by
Maybe.
everything I said tonight?
No.
Oh, you already were one? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I am.
So if you were a Cenobite and you came back to serve Pinhead, what would you be like? Just some weird eunuch like thing with like black leather straps all over you and
If I was a
razor
Cenobite,
blades? Huh?
if I was a Cenobite,
What would
I
be
don't
your
know.
torment in hell that would titillate you?
What?
Black metal? You'd have to be a black metal Cenobite because you hate black metal.
I don't hate black metal.
You'd have headphones like scored into your fucking skull and you couldn't remove them and they'd be playing shit that I suggested every day.
No, it'd be playing oh, what's some be playing mumble rap, like if
Now that would be my hell.
it'd be our hell.
I work with a bunch of
We're in this
teenagers.
together.
That's all they fucking like is the same two songs over and over and over. It's the most talentless fucking dreck you'll ever hear in your fucking life. It's insane.
Well,
But that's another story.
I know. We've done enough of that. All right, man. Um,
Well, we finally managed for
maybe you
you
can.
to piss off Nervosa again in this show.
I didn't piss off. You're the one that's like calling him a gimmick.
I didn't say it was a gimmick. Well, I guess I did, but I didn't mean it there, a gimmick. I'm just saying it's like it seems like that's
I know what you
fuck
mean.
off. Just
I
fuck
know you
off,
don't
would you?
mean. I don't know you. I know you don't mean no harm. If you want, you can watch the movie I sent you.
Yeah, I need to do that. I just haven't had time. It's been busy lately. You're busy too. You've been working like double shifts and shit. Like, yeah, it's been
Yeah, oh yeah,
crazy.
dude. It's wild. I don't know how much how long I can keep it up. I'm going to keep it up as long as I can because
That's what all the
well,
glam rockers say.
yeah, yeah, but
Gonna keep it
but
up as long
but
as I
they
can.
don't deliver. And on
Oh
that note,
man. On that note, I got some
Alyssa
pictures of
White
Aaron
go
Gray and Linda
glues.
Carter to go look at. And
Alyssa White glues from Arch Enemy. She's a cutie pie. That's all.
I think I need to check out these Crypta and Nervosa bands. I've never actually heard them, to be
Oh,
honest with you.
they're
Do you have
good.
their
They're not.
stuff? Send me their stuff.
I don't have their stuff. Like I told you, dude, I'm an asshole that streams all my stuff, but
Yeah,
um,
fucking loser.
I pay for the streaming and I buy the shirts. But
All right, that's it. We're gonna talk about Spotify right now.
no, no.
No, I'm kidding. We're
But
not.
they're both like kind of like a blackened thrash kind of stuff. So like borderline death thrash, black, but really sinister sounding stuff. It's great. I think you'll dig them.
All right, I will endeavor to check it out since you're not going to send it to me. Now, what else do you want me to send you? You want me to send you some black metal I think you'd like?
Yes.
You say that. Now, you heard it, ladies and germs. He said, yes, I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Now, there is a quite the wide pantheon of stuff, so I'm not going to send you raw, brutal, ugly shit that you're going to hate. Have faith.
Okay. Okay.
All right, and on that note, if I hear that a church got burned down in Wyoming, I'm going to start looking your way, pal.
So I'm looking at my like YouTube history, and it looks like I did check out at least 4 minutes of a band called Raped Christ.
Yeah, see, that kind of, I don't know who that is, but I don't think you would like that.
Well, I was listening to it apparently just a little while um, ago. It's in my listening history. So hey, there you go. I've been sampling a little of everything.
Maybe I'll make you a compilation. You can hear like one song from each band I think you may like or may like at least want to hear, and we'll see
It's
what
kind of
happens.
sweet. A mixtape.
No, compilation.
Okay.
Mixtape is a term for rap and rap assholes. Fuck that. Compilation. Compilation, a
No,
compiling of great metal.
a
Fuck
mixtape
rap.
is something that like you give like a someone that you love. You're like, I put these songs together for you.
I've done that, but I didn't call it a
Yeah,
mixtape back then either.
I
So
called it a mixtape.
I gave my first girlfriend a tape of Metallica songs, like a completely full tape, like 90-minute tape of Metallica, because I was so into Metallica.
And it
She was
went
like,
straight in the
yeah.
bin.
And that
Yeah,
was when they had 3 albums. So,
yeah. There you go.
but I also gave her a tape full of Kiss. She liked the Kiss stuff. I don't think the Metallica was her speed because she was a new waver. So I was trying to convert her already. But
No, she was
anyways,
new wave, just not the new wave of British heavy metal.
she had a yellow Volkswagen and she painted the words Oingo Boingo on it by hand herself. So if that gives you a clue.
Oh,
And she had a tail. Remember the tail? The new wave tail?
yeah, she sounds adorable. You should have kept her.
Oh,
Should have
yeah.
married her, dude.
Yeah, I should have. Get the
All right.
fuck out of here. All right, you better go.
All right. Good
You
night.
got people to nurse tomorrow, pal.
That's right.
And
Okay, brother.
remember,
Yes.
bang that head that doesn't bang.
A head that doesn't bang is no head at all.
Wow,
I don't know what that means.
that's so deep. Well, I was giving you a Metallica quote, but you
A
went and,
bang in the head is worth two in the nutsack.
hey,
I
that's
don't know.
pretty good.
Yeah, there you go.
All right,
Okay.
fella.
All right.